Hi guys, this is Mindy Egan and welcome back to another Lawn Fawn video. In today's card, I'm going to be creating a simple window scene using an older stamp set called Gleeful Gardens. The first thing I'm going to do is create the window for my card. I'm starting with a piece of Lawn Fawn white cardstock measuring 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and I'm taking one of the circle stackables. I'm lining that up onto the front of that white piece of paper cardstock and then holding it in place with some post-it tape. So I run that through my die cut machine to create this window, and I have another piece of cardstock here cut to the same size, which is going to be the background of my window card. I'll be using Distress Oxide inks to do my ink blending today. I'm using Tumble Glass, Shaded Lilac, Dusty Concord, and I'll also be bringing in some chipped sapphire later on in the video. Now, if you struggle with ink blending, the oxides are a great place to start because they do kind of have a creamy texture to them. They're very easy to ink blend. Now, I'm using the Lawn Fawn white cardstock, which I love to do my coloring and ink blending on. But if you struggle with that, you could try using some Bristol Smooth cardstock. That has a very slick surface to it and makes it very easy to ink blend. I am starting with the Tumbled Glass, which is my lightest color, about partway up my card, starting from the bottom. That's just what's going to be shown in the window of my scene. So I didn't need to ink blend the entire thing. I use circular motions when I'm ink blending, and I typically will start pretty light-handed, meaning I am not pushing on my foam piece or the cardstock very hard. I'm barely skimming over the surface, and the more color I lay down, the easier it is going to be to blend the two colors together. Now you can see I did speed up the process a little bit, but I did want to show you that I do go back and forth between the colors quite a bit. Like I said, the more color you lay down, the easier it is to blend, and you'll end up with a very nice smooth transition if that is the look that you're going for. I'll bring in my window every now and then just to see how far down the color is showing. You can see I brought in that chipped sapphire because I kind of wanted more of a contrast between the light and the dark. So that chipped sapphire really helped. But I did notice I didn't bring it down far enough. So I will add a little bit more color to the top and then just blend all of those colors down. After I have that done, I'm going to take just a bottle of water that I have here and I'm going to spray the background with the water. I am holding that bottle up pretty high. I wanted just some soft speckles in the background and I dab up that excess water with a paper towel. Now I'll move on to the coloring of my images. These images come from Gleeful Gardens and the gnome stamp set. I was just kind of looking for some garden ones, so I have some big sprouts of grass and a few different sizes of the mushrooms, flowers, a little hummingbird, and some snails. I stamped them all in the jet black ink from Lawn Fawn onto their white cardstock, which is 80 pound and one of my favorites to color on. I will have all of the colors I'm using listed at the top of the screen as usual for you. Now, I wasn't really sure exactly what color scheme I was going to go with at first, but when I was kind of digging through my colors, I have this BV collection. This is BV 08, 04, and 02. And I really liked that tone. I love purple, but I didn't want it like quite in your face purple. And I loved this BV collection. So I decided I was going to color a lot of my images this way, starting with the mushrooms and the flower there, which is what inspired me to do that. Now, the mushrooms, I do color the rest of them off screen, but this one I started with the darker color on the right and blending it out to the left. And on my other ones, I'm going to just change it up because then I can move it around however I want my light source or where I want that light source to be. I did some warm grays for the stem of the mushrooms, and I'm trying a really different color combination here for my snails. I just kind of was digging through my collection to see what don't I use that often. And this collection, which is E87, 84, and 81, was quite a unique, I guess brown color is what I would go with. So I think I'm going to put this on my list to use more often. Now for the backs of the snails, I have BG 78, 75, and 72. So don't be afraid to dig into your collection or whatever you have and just try something completely new. Mix and match, just experiment because you never know what kind of color combinations you're going to find. After I have everything colored, I'm going to take the coordinating dies and hold them in place with some low tack tape or some post-it tape. And I'm going to run all of these through my die cut machine. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of in a rut right now when it comes to what card I want to make. I'm not really in a Valentine's mood. Winter, I'm not really into it right now. And so I just decided to do a birthday card with no real theme to it. So I am using a sentiment from the Simply Sentiments stamp set. I just lined that up at the bottom of my window card and I'm stamping that in the jet black ink. For the base of my card, I'm going to use fog cardstock that I have cut to 4¼ by 5½, and I'm just adding my blended panel to that using a tape runner. Now, I will be honest, I actually was thinking of turning this into a shaker card, but as I flipped this over and I started lining up the foam tape, I completely forgot to add my acetate. My husband actually walked in and started having a conversation with me when I was doing this. So I just completely spaced adding that acetate to make it a shaker card until after I had just peeled off all the backing of that foam tape. So I just went with it, going with a really clean and simple window card. I love doing this anyway. I just thought turning it into a shaker would have been really cool to add some sparkle into that background. The rest of the card, I'm just going to take tape runner and I'm adding that to the bottom of all of the images. I'm not adding the tape runner to the whole thing and lining this just kind of at the bottom of that circle window. By just adding that foam tape to the bottom of the pieces, it kind of popped up those images a little bit on its own. And I really liked that. They weren't all just so completely flat. It kind of gave it a little bit more poof, I guess you would call it. Now, I did add foam tape to the hummingbird and the couple snails, but for the most part, the rest of the images are just laying flat on my front of my card. And there we have it. Just a really nice, simple garden birthday card, I guess you could call this. And I really had a lot of fun just kind of digging through my older stamp sets and playing around with something I actually hadn't stamped out or colored before. So I really enjoyed that, and I hope you'll take a look at your stamp sets too. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you again soon.